Hey YouTubers.
Hey YouTubers.
Hey YouTubers.
Oh my god. Okay guys, I got a round table discussion here. Actually a triangle because there's three of us. But anyway, guys, once again joined by MJ from Geeklist TV. MJ, say hello.
Hello, Mark.
Oh my god. And the Golden Scouter. Scouter, say hello.
Hello, Real and Geeklist.
He's parroting you, man. He's parroting you.
Hey, before we get started, I just want to say my favorite YouTubers are Mark, Real to Real Productions. That's it. That's all I had to say.
Oh man, some really diversified group of people. The whitest kids you know, really. Anyway, anyway, so the thing is like today we're going to be talking about, we got our triangle table discussion here to talk about where exactly Dragon Ball should have ended. Obviously, it is yet to end. 30 years and we're still chugging along. But, we have a lot of different ending points that could have been, theoretically possible throughout the entire series. So I thought we'd just open this up to a general discussion, really, just nothing too special. And let me just start by saying I feel like as awesome as Dragon Ball Z is, and as cool as the ending of Dragon Ball GT is, and as awesome as Super is and everything, I personally feel like the best ending overall would have been at the end of the 23rd tournament, because Dragon Ball, without going too much into detail, because I'm sure anyone who's listening to this already knows and has heard this over and over and over and over again, Dragon Ball is a complete story. Dragon Ball Z and everything that comes after it is a complete mess. So, just throwing it out there, I feel like Dragon Ball probably would have been the best way to end it, but at the same time, the series would not be as iconic without everything that came after that point. So, with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to MJ just to give his points on whatever he thinks is the best ending.
Why me first, man? I'm just kidding. But, yeah, I agree with you. You kind of took my answer. I completely agree that it should have ended with Dragon Ball. People love Z, and I say this all the time, but Z had a lot of problems. And even though like one of my favorite arcs is the Saiyan arc, whatever you prefer to call it, even that had a lot of problems. And I can name them, if you guys want me to. But anyways, I just feel like Dragon Ball, whether it be in the 22nd Budokai or even in the 23rd, I feel like there was a lot of good times where it could have ended with Dragon Ball, and I feel like Dragon Ball is a more complete story. I feel like it kind of all comes together in a certain way, shape, or form, and that's kind of like my take on it. I feel like Z, GT, and Super, even though GT had an incredible ending, man, I just feel like there was problems with GT as well, and the same with Super. There's a lot of problems with Super as well. I just feel like the most complete portion of the story was Dragon Ball, and I feel like whether it's the 22nd or 23rd, they both gave, I think, awesome endings and conclusions to those respective tournaments, in my opinion. I mean,
yeah. Scouter, what about you?
So I'm actually a lover of both. So I see what you mean, MJ, about the 22nd or 23rd Budokai being the best place to end it. But I also like the whole sci-fi element of the Z portion. So yes, I mean, Mr. Fusion said that once Dragon Ball ends, it shifts from a standard of Tenkaichi Budokai tournament and adventure style story over into a sci-fi story. So I think that my favorite place to end it would be the Cell arc, just because Cell is the epitome of all the strongest fighters that they've ever encountered, from Frieza to Vegeta to Piccolo. So I think anything that comes after that is kind of weird, because then they have to start ass-pulling even worse than they already have. Because I think that Frieza is insanely powerful. Insanely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. It's like once you get past Frieza, it becomes kind of like man, what can you do after Frieza? He was like the emperor of the universe. He was the strongest, at least that's what he said, the strongest in the universe. And then you kind of have like the androids or the artificial humans, and then you have Cell. And Mozilla Volpix did a lovely video about why the artificial humans are stronger than Frieza, and she talked about how maybe from a power scaling point of view, it is an ass pull, but at the same time, it's like she kind of figures in her headcanon that when they were plotting this next arc after Frieza, you've kind of already done everything. You've done these people who've threatened the planet. You've done people who've threatened the universe. What can you do? And she came to the conclusion, well, maybe it's time that we introduce villains that threaten time itself. People that go past and people that go beyond the past, present, and time. Which is the artificial humans and Cell. And that's a great way to look at it. But either way, it is still kind of an ass pull because Frieza was an extremely powerful and respectable character with a name around the universe, and yet you have like all these people just pop up and they're stronger than him all of a sudden, like Boo, and then you have Cell, and then especially the androids, people have a hard time believing that, so.
Mm-hmm. And then you basically go to demons. After that, you go you go to demons that have been around since the beginning of existence, and then gods and everything, and for the most part, like I personally feel like I agree. The whole Cell concept is probably where it should have ended, just because it leaves a lot of it up to our own imaginations for the most part. But at the same time, there's still a whole lot. It's a legit ending for the most part. Goku's dead, kind of full circle on him dying at the beginning of Super or Z, and then coming back to being dead at the very end of the series, if it were there, or Vegeta basically being better person, not necessarily as pure of heart as he is now, but definitely you can see him and his humanity basically building up, which is what you really need considering how much of a villain he is throughout that entire series. You allow Trunks to have at least somewhat of a good ending at the same time, and then you have Bulma also with someone. Gohan is definitely the new protector and all that. It makes a whole lot of sense, but I would just say, look, it's not that I don't like Trunks, but just theoretically or emotionally where we would end that series is basically Trunks essentially stopping, the last big main challenge would be Trunks stopping the androids, which is really emotional for that scene and for that arc. But at the same time, overall, it's like, who is this guy? I mean, it's not as bad as Oob, but it's like, who is this guy? Like, getting the last emotional scene after we just saw this epic struggle with Gohan and Cell, I feel like that would have dampened the whole concept of, because you could probably come it back with a couple chapters or a couple of episodes dedicated to Gohan and him growing up and all that, and Goku watching over him and everything, but you don't get that last big gotcha fight scene with the main character of the show, or at least the, passing of the torch character. So I don't necessarily know about that. I'm going to make an argument for, I really, really, really like the Boo arc, because I feel like the Boo arc does have a really nice ending for it, with Goku and Vegeta basically kind of coming to terms with their rivalry, and then all that other stuff that kind of happens throughout that film. About that arc, but at the same time, my actual thing is, putting GT aside and putting all of the ending of Z aside, the last few chapters with Oob and everything, the best place to end this would have been Battle of Gods.
Now that's an interesting thought.
Because at that point, you have endless possibilities, because the whole point about Dragon Ball, with Dragon Ball's ending, like the original Dragon Ball ending, and even where Dragon Ball Z ended and even Dragon Ball GT ended, is this whole story is basically built around the journey and opening it up for more and more and more possible adventures. But in Battle of Gods, especially the movie, you have, you've introduced a new level, a new tier of godly beings, which Dragon Ball Z did a lot of, and you introduce the concept of multi-universes and all this other stuff, but you leave it at that. You could go anywhere from there, but it's all open to the imagination, the same way that Oob was, or the same way that Goku flying away at the end of GT was, or Goku and Chi-Chi basically driving off into the sunset and Dragon Ball. So there's just a lot of open places we would be clamoring, like we were back then a couple of years ago, clamoring for more, but it's a very satisfying ending, in my opinion, just on its head.
I could see your point, Real. I do have a question, though. So with the endings, usually for me, the reason why I chose the Cell arc instead of the Frieza arc as my preferred one is because Gohan's character is fully developed, and we get to see Gohan's full power by the end of the Cell arc, as to where in the Frieza arc we didn't really get that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, the question I was going to ask you, what point do you think that everybody's character is developed and that's where the series should end?
I mean, MJ, do you have a? Let me think.
Well, I mean, it was stated, I can't remember in what, maybe in the anime comics interview, the reason why, Toriyama chose that time was because everyone was at their strongest. You can assume Gohan is still at his peak in the Boost saga, in the BOG arc or movie, so it would seem like, I guess, maybe he's at his peak there still. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
But okay, going into like answering your question, at least for Battle of Gods, I agree with MJ. It's like it's not about being at peaks. It's not about being at power levels. It's about character development, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, I still imagine that. Look, go back and watch Battle of Gods, not the arc itself. I honestly feel like the director's cut of the movie is better than Super's depiction of it because you get just little small snippets of scenes. Each character gets their moment. Gohan's having a kid. Gohan at that moment, just regardless of actually having seen it, you understand that he's about to make that leap and he's going to achieve the dream that we kind of got from him the moment we met him. Was guy wants to be a scholar. Guy doesn't want to be like his dad. Definitely going to reach that goal. You can see kind of hinting at a lot of facts that Trunks and Goten are growing up with the whole oh, she's my girlfriend type of thing and yada yada yada. Like they're growing up and they're going to start being their own person anytime soon. They're not going to just be copies of their father or idolizing their brothers or their fathers or any other people. At the same time, you have Goku, who's never going to stop training. Vegeta, who's kind of at the same time, like he still trains, but at the same time, kind of docile. You could see him kind of starting to adhere to what he's done, giving Goku the power, not necessarily fighting it the same way he always has, going forward after the boot arc. He's like, you know what, I'm done. Goku, you're better than me, yada, yada, yada. He's no longer fighting that situation. And then, like I said, and like I've mentioned in a lot of other videos, is like Goku is just kind of the stable aspect of the entire continuity of the entire story. He is the person who will never stop, fighting. He'll never stop wondering and journeying and all this other stuff. So opening the door for him and him alone with the God power, with the whole knowledge that there are other universes, with the respect of the battle of the God of Destruction and all that other stuff opens the door for Goku and Goku alone. And so that although Goku's going to go off and have more adventures, so that there's always that door open to possibly come back, everyone else is kind of settled in their own right. And I feel like that's why Battle of Gods is probably the best ending that you could have possibly had.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with that.
I mean, Team Four Star did say that Battle of Gods was their favorite movie.
No, I agree, and I agree too. I feel like it is the best movie just because of how much it conveyed in such a short amount of time. But at the same time, like I honestly feel like there's nothing terribly wrong with the ending of Z, or even the ending of GT is probably the best one that we've had that's actually been depicted at this point. It's just such a nice ending, other than the fact that for whatever reason everyone dies besides Pan, when that really shouldn't have happened. Like there are so many people who should still be left alive after 70 years or however long it was. So
like Roshi
or Piccolo or Dende or Goten and Trunks or
well, Piccolo died.
That is true.
That's right. Piccolo was dead. But
died for no reason. Just point that out there.
Dende or Mr. Popo, all those people should have been alive. I mean, and
maybe they were. Was it said that they were dead, like Popo and them?
Like it says, like, doesn't say like everyone was dead from back then.
I don't remember.
It's like, and what happened to seemingly what is like 1/2? She's 1/8, like 1/16 Saiyan child that she had in order to have her 1/32nd grandchild who can essentially go Super Saiyan easily and has a lot of power in him. What happened to her child that he's dead? Like, it makes no sense.
Maybe he turned into an Ozaru and killed them.
Yeah, maybe. that would have actually been pretty funny. Yeah, well, we forgot to take off the tails. No one told them. You get so far removed that no one tells you.
I mean, that's a funny way to look at it. That would have been kind of funny. I've seen people talk about the ending of Super being that I guess Goku is gonna like something's gonna happen like extremely bad to Goku, and then it's gonna be all like a dream of Kid Goku.
Oh my god. No, please no.
He's in a coma from being shot in the head at the very beginning of the series. All was a dream, and you were there, and you were there.
And then the cliffhanger is Goku's like, "Who are you?" And Bulma's like, "I'm looking for these Dragon Balls," and everyone's like, "Dun dun dun."
And then they live happily ever after.
Or they don't.
Or they don't.
And in this case, Bulma actually gets with Goku, which I would ship. Just saying.
Oh, yeah, please. Okay. Anyway, guys, I guess I'll just leave it at that unless y'all have any other thing you want to say.
So, I mean, the only question I have is, so what part do you guys think that it would be best to end Dragon Ball? Which part? So my vote is for the Cell arc.
I mean, MJ?
You go first.
I feel like the
Or
Cell
second.
No, I feel like you're right. No, I feel like you're right. The Cell arc. It would make sense. Not to be an asshole and just completely agree with you, but it would make sense.
I mean, the Cell arc's cool, but I still stand by the 23rd Budokai. Or the 22nd. I feel like either one would have been awesome to end it with.
22nd would have been a good idea too. Raises the stakes, puts the changing a couple things because you can't necessarily have it in the way it did.
That is true. I mean, it would have to end like right when they all go and like have dinner. Like you can't have Krillin take off because then that leaves the whole who killed Krillin. Like it would have to be rewritten in a bit of a way. It can't just end the way it did because remember immediately it goes straight into the Piccolo Daima arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So you can't do that, but at the same time, like I do like that ending idea just because it kind of solidifies the whole point, especially at the beginning of Dragon Ball, where you like Roshi's insistence that they can't just easily win because they will stop trying. So if you create someone who's almost on par, equal with Goku with Tenshinhan, and they earn respect for each other there, then okay, like these guys are going to be rivals, and we don't have to go the whole demon route. And competing schools going to be constantly competing and everything, and it's just the next generation. That would have been cool. But
yeah, that would have been.
But I mean, we can all agree that where it went from there wasn't bad, and thus, especially like right after that wasn't bad. Thus, it was probably a good thing they kept going. But it could have worked as a legitimate conclusion to the series, and I feel like one of the reasons for this discussion is when you think about Dragon Ball. Other than just a few arcs, really, that you go, no, that would never serve as an ending. Most arcs in Dragon Ball could serve as a legitimate ending. After the very first arc, after they took down Pilaf and got the Dragon Balls and turned in, like that could be a legitimate, like everyone got what they wanted. Other than Goku,
wasn't it supposed to end there anyways?
Yeah, like everyone got what they wanted, other than Goku, who had to, lost his grandfather's ball. But I mean,
well,
Goku's the only one screwed over by that whole.
Well, I mean, going back to the 22nd Budokai, you can kind of tie everything in because a lot of stuff happens and ties into those next two arcs, the Piccolo Daima arc and then the Piccolo Junior arc, and people live by those two arcs. Like, they think the whole story of Piccolo Daima and Piccolo Junior is probably the best arc in all of Dragon Ball, in the entire franchise. So you can really tie those three arcs together into one huge arc. You know what I mean? Because doesn't Goku have to go see Kami in order to wish his friends back? So it's like everything happens, and it leads into the next thing. So if you want to conclude that and say, oh, the entire 22nd Budokai into the Piccolo Junior stuff, that's probably the best. I guess what do you say? A full circle arc, as far as Dragon Ball goes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, that's probably why ending it at the 23rd arc or the 23rd tournament just the ending of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball as a whole is like almost a perfect story. As crazy as it is, it's almost perfect. And then Dragon Ball Z, like we said at the beginning of this video, just gets so ridiculous, but it's still good. It's still fun, but it's ridiculous, and they messed a lot up while they also revolutionized a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, guys, I think we'll just leave it at that. Unless y'all have any other thoughts.
That's it for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it at that, apparently. Tell us what y'all think about this discussion in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on where Dragon Ball could have ended, should have ended, what it could have, should have, whatever. And make sure
you fucked that up.
What? What it could have, should have. Okay, guys, whatever. Go check out MJ. Go check out Golden Scouter. Their links will be in the description below, so make sure to just, go do that. Anyway, bye, guys.